safeguard MPI's long-term sustainability. Looking back, we can now say as a direct result of that financial discipline instilled under Brian's leadership that enabled MPI to manage through the pandemic while providing exceptional and needed support to our community. Thank you, Brian, for that. Brian is passionate about the business events industry, an unapologetic supporter of our community, and a great friend to MPI. Personally, I would like to say thank you, Brian, for your steady counsel, guidance, and friendship over the past 9 years. Like so many other people in this industry, you've inspired me, and for that, I cannot thank you enough. But most importantly, you've always been able to make me laugh, and for that I really thank you. Let's hear now from some of Brian's friends and his colleagues. Please run that video.
He doesn't like to waste time, and so he's efficient. He gets things done, and I respect that.
I think the key things that Brian has done and continues to do is really connect and be an advocate for change within the industry. What I've learned the most from Brian is the importance of just staying connected. I get a Valentine's Day card from Brian. I get cards from Brian for all occasions that are personally handwritten. And you just don't see that from very many CEOs.
I know Brian's receiving the award is really big for him to really think about how it can inspire the next generation, inspire his peers, and try to get more people to just get involved. I mean, Brian, has been involved with MPI for a long time, as well as many other organizations, and I think he'd love to see more people do the same to really help move the industry forward.
What I appreciate about Brian is how he protects the integrity of our brand and how careful he is about which associates are part of our brand, how associates represent the company, interact with our partners and hotels. You can't tip him over. He's not going to get distracted by anything you throw his way. And so just having someone there that's so strong that you know that you can count on and lean on means a lot.
What I found when I really got to know Brian is a very generous human being, somebody who's very generous with his time and his knowledge and his resources, and he truly cares. He loves this industry, and he's passionate about this industry, and really commit to saying, how do we get MPI to live 5 to 7 years down the road? But I think this is even a recognition beyond that. Not only would he serve in the MPI community, but he serves to this industry, and what he has done with all organizations and what he has done for our industry. I said it earlier, he cares, and he really loves this industry and wants to make sure it's around long after he is.
Hardworking. Brian starts his day at 4:30, and he's making calls at 5:30 or 6 every day if he can find anybody to talk to. And so, I also found him to be extraordinarily good with people. I mean, he holds himself very accountable. He holds others accountable. And he figured out early on that good intentions are wonderful, but good intentions supported with money are even better. So working on sponsored dinners to raise money for associations, which in turn then do research and development for the meetings industry. He's got his thumbprint on it, so he's really been wonderful in that respect.
His faith, and a very deep faith, has impacted his life because he senses what God invites him to next. I think he has a beautiful discernment gift. His faith goes beyond himself. He notices where there's need, and he responds generously, but he keeps it quiet.
He really legitimized the third-party industry in terms of him coming on board and seeing an opportunity where site selection and meeting planning was fragmented, and he was able to see a need for customers and make the sourcing process much better. He's moved the industry forward in terms of customers' requirements and needs, and it's been a great thing to be part of.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Frank Quesanati, Senior Vice President and Global Head of Sales.
Guys, let's be quiet. It is now my distinct pleasure to recognize my friend, former Hilton colleague, and current industry partner, Brian Stevens. So, I'd like to begin my personal tribute for Brian going back to 1988. That was the year I actually joined Hilton as an ambitious, young, hard-driving sales guy. And at that time, Brian was Vice President of Sales, and he was overseeing both domestic and international operations. Now, to me back then, Brian represented both Hilton sales, and quite frankly, he represented the pinnacle of sales leadership. He was well known in the industry for his strong relationships and stature, and quite frankly, I looked up to him as so many of us also did. Now, over time, what I've come to learn and what Brian has demonstrated all along is that the work we do goes well beyond title, and certainly beyond a corporate role. Brian has demonstrated unflagging commitment and generosity to make our industry better. Better for customers, better for suppliers, and better for our colleagues, even those colleagues who haven't even joined our industry yet. So let's back up now and just review a little bit about Brian got here. So Brian began his hospitality career not far from here in Oakland at the Hilton Oakland Airport in 1978. 4 years later, at age 26, he joined this hotel, the Hilton San Francisco Union Square. And he was mentored by Bruce Gamble, who's here with us tonight. And Bruce was at this hotel for 18 years. 3 years later, Brian was promoted by Jim Collins to Director of Industry Relations based in Washington, D.C. And just 1 year later, in 1986, he was hired by Bob Moore. And the role he took on was the Director of National Sales based in Beverly Hills. It was then in 1988, the year I joined Hilton, he was promoted to Vice President of Sales. And that very same year, Brian established Hilton Direct. It's one of our big sales centers. Now, it has evolved pretty significantly since then, but originally Brian called Hilton Direct a site selection service. Sounds a little like the model for the future business that he started. Brian continued with Hilton through 1998, heading up all domestic U.S. sales operations, national sales across all market segments, as well as convention services, special events, and professional sales development. Now, we at Hilton, we credited Brian with innovation, certainly elevation of our national sales organization, and we deeply felt his absence when he left Hilton to start Conference Direct, along with many Hilton colleagues. Yes. Nowadays, when I meet with Brian and we're talking business, talking about how his associates work with our mutual customers in our hotels, he still talks as if he works for Hilton. I love that. Gone for 25 years, but part of Hilton for the last 40. Thank you, Brian. So let's shift now from Brian's Hilton career to his volunteerism in service of our entire industry. Perhaps his greatest impact has been through his foundation work. As Geraldine said, foundations are where we raise funds to champion education, champion research, and champion advocacy. And since Paul already spoke tonight about Brian's work with MPI, please let me just share 3 different examples of Brian's work that extends well beyond MPI. First, PCMA. Brian's a past chair of PCMA Foundation, and he founded the PCMA Visionary Awards Dinner back in 1987 with Roy Evans and Bill Edwards. That dinner has been and continues to be one of the most significant fundraisers for the foundation. And it was hosted at the Washington Hilton under my watch for many years and was there for over 20 years. Fun fact, Brian, allowing himself to be roasted at that dinner in 2014, set a new fundraising record. Sounds a little familiar. Look at this room of over 800 people. Next, ASAE. Here too, Brian founded the annual foundation dinner in 1987 and then later chaired the foundation board. And a third example, Brian founded NBTA Foundation, now known as the GBTA Foundation. There's much, much, much more to share. So, to wrap up simply, I want to return to the quote that Conrad Hilton, that Geraldine referenced earlier this evening. And Conrad said, ladies and gentlemen, as hoteliers, hotel men and women, it has been and continues to be our responsibility to fill the earth with the light and warmth of hospitality. Conrad really believed that through hospitality, we can make the world a better place. All along, Brian has actually been living this legacy purpose given to us by our founder, Conrad Hilton. In fact, Brian embodies it. Brian, congratulations on your well-deserved recognition. You have made a lasting impact on our industry, and you have left not just our industry, but you've left our world in a much better place through hospitality. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Let's now hear from a few more of Brian's colleagues and friends.
You are an advocate, an educator, a learner, a mentor, but most importantly, you're daddy of Kelly, the new puppy lab.
He is not afraid to tackle big events and big jobs. He has a great vision for the future, so it takes courage to step forward. And especially, he doesn't believe in the old expression, we never did it that way before. For Brian, everything is a possibility, and would be a great ambassador for the church in welcoming people. That is just so much who he is. And so I think he'd be a superb priest. Probably a little bit too late right now. Brian would have been a great father, Brian.
Brian is kind and humble, sweet, so generous, and such a community leader. I admire him, I respect his work, and how he is so grateful for so much in his life.
He is a man of great influence, and he knows how to connect people and network and empower people. He connected me with key people in MPI. He opened a huge door for me, and I see that as a way he used his gifts of networking and collaboration. He opened this huge door where we could educate and prevent the exploitation of children, especially in the travel and hospitality industry. So I think he's a generous man, and he's quiet about his generosity.
We've been down in Palm Springs, about 2 hours outside of LA, and I've seen him just give someone the keys to his car because they had to drive back to LA, not realizing that we're now stranded. You know, he will literally give you the shirt off his back. He's that kind of person, and he's that way with everyone.
He's really a man of faith, and many people don't know that he went to college at St. Mary's near San Francisco and was intending to be a priest. He has just done many, many things for people of the church. He's just a great guy, and most people don't know that about him, but I so admire him.
He's got a heart of gold. He's a shrewd businessman, always supportive, always there for people that he appreciates, and has a zeal and a zest to really meet new people. Sometimes when you get to a certain level, you're unapproachable. That's not Brian.
Will the man of the hour please join me up here and come on up. Brian, you are a difficult man to buy anything for, because you got everything. But our team put their heads together, and they actually commissioned a painting of your two new puppies. Jackie and Kelly, that'll be waiting for you when you get home. Please enjoy it.
Thank you.
And let's hear, one other point before I turn it over to Brian. Oh, never mind. I'm ahead of my cue. But I'm going to do it now anyway, so we can talk about it. Tonight, in lieu of dessert, Brian suggested to Hilton that we do something different. And the Hilton has made a generous donation to an organization called the Friends of the Urban Forest. And they're going to be building a grove of trees, or planting a grove of trees right here in the Tenderloin. So thank you, Brian, for that idea.
Thank you.
Well, that's up to you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Paul. And thank you all for being here. I had to take a selfie so that in case I get depressed someday, I can play it back. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your attention. For those of you at the Marriott table, I'd appreciate it if I could get 10% of your attention tonight. That's an inside joke. Some of you may know that Paul chooses the honoree. The board approves it. And I want to congratulate Paul, by the way, on his extension of his 5-year contract. Bonnie, congratulations on your leadership during this very difficult time, wherever you are. I want to thank all of the Rise Award winners. Great job. Thank you. And Stephen Revitria, what great recognition of Roger Dow. What a great guy. I adore him. I think that we like Jeff, but we love you. Thank you. Bill Metzler, thank you for the beautiful invocation. I've heard you give it a lot, 30 times maybe. And Bob Moore always says that your invocation's better than anybody that's talking up here. So that's a lot of pressure on us. Frank, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate you continuing this sponsorship that we started. Bob and I started this when we were back at Hilton. I also have a tremendous amount of gratitude for all the people that spoke on the videos. And Annette, I want to thank you for recording this so I can send it to my mother, who's not here. And for all of you that bought tables and seats, I'm so appreciative. We broke a record tonight. We were sold out, and that's all because of you. I'm extremely humbled by the number of people who received this award before. I actually have a special relationship with each one of those people. I have to say that while we all share a passion for this industry, I'm a little different from all the others. I'm the first member of the LGBT community to receive this award. The truth is that I stand on the shoulders of so many giants and many more in this room. I would not be here today if it wasn't for the mentorship, the generosity, and the faith of so many who have helped me along the way. One of the earliest influences in my life were the Christian Brothers. I actually went to high school, to a Christian Brothers school. I went to a college about 25 miles from here, called St. Mary's College. And for those of you that are not familiar with the Christian Brothers, you're drinking some of their wine tonight. They have 1,100 schools around the world. My entire upbringing was shaped by people like the Brothers. But I just want to talk for a second just about the Catholic Church. Because I don't think everyone knows that the church is the largest provider of social services in the world. We have 140,000 schools, 18 clinics, 1,600 elderly homes, and 5,500 hospitals around the world. And also, millions of people have improved their penmanship by the nuns. The Brothers were my early example of service. And I have to say that so many of my friends and associates have come from the Brothers Schools. Our co-founder, Brian Ritchie, my right-hand man, Jerry Horan, and one of my first investors, Richard Chrisman, all came from the Brothers. We even have a new generation, Matthew Ringard, who's with us. I'm what's called the Brothers Boy. And for those of you that went to St. Mary's or to a Brothers school, you know what I mean. Tonight I'm honored that my former professor, Brother Patrick Moore, is here, along with our former provincial, Brother Mark Murphy. My partner, Alex, is surprised that they're both alive, if they taught me. They were very young back then, Alex. I'd be remiss if I didn't call out the dozens of classmates who are here tonight. Many of us have an annual golf reunion. Thank you all for being here. Immediately after leaving the seminary, my father suggested I get into the hotel business. I could tell you a lot of stories about how my career was shaped, but I want to identify 4 short stories. The first one was my job in Oakland. I had a boss who was a woman. Her name was Barbara Welch. And in the second month working there, she called me an underachiever. Well, that kicked me into high gear. And because I never wanted to be called that again. When I arrived at this hotel, I worked for Bruce Gamble. Bruce was my hotel dean. He sat with me for 2 hours a night and taught me the hotel business and the ropes, really. And everything from yield management to negotiating contracts. Bruce, would you please stand? It's right here. Bruce taught me a lot. It was Jim Collins who gave me the freedom at the age of 29 to head up Hilton's industry sales. He pushed me to join the boards of MPI, PCMA, ASAE as Hilton's representative. When I really got involved in the industry, I learned the value of volunteerism. When I was 31, Bob Moore took a huge risk on me and asked me, as Frank mentioned, to head up global sales. When I told my dad that I got the job, he said, "You don't deserve this job, but you can rise to the occasion." Bob actually helped me learn how to balance my office life and my responsibilities in the industry. He was the one, in fact, who basically told me to rejoin the board of MPI in 2014. I would not be on this stage tonight had Bob not voluntold me to once again serve at MPI. So, Bob, thank you so much. Barbara lit the fire under me. Bruce taught me the history of the business and who's who. Jim gave me the freedom to volunteer across the industry. And Bob taught me the balancing act to sharpen my hotel skills and my sales skills. He also, by the way, taught me how to dress better. I had 21 great years here at Hilton, and I want to express my gratitude to all the people that I worked with at Hilton. Would all of you please stand? Anybody I worked with at Hilton? People like me sell meetings, but it's really the banquet staff here tonight are the ones that do the hard work. So I'd like to invite on stage Robert Rhodes, Director of Banquets, Eddie Imperial, Assistant Director of Banquets, Stacy Menendez, Vicky Tagliano, Oscar Cruz, and Eduardo Mendez. Thank you so much. Isn't it true though, we sell it and then they work their butts off, right? Back in 1990, I went on a discernment retreat at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Convent. That's where I met Sister Mary Teresa, who's here tonight. And my director at the time, after the weekend, said, "You should reinvent yourself." So I left Hilton and started Conference Direct. It was an experiment that worked for 3 reasons. The first was that I had to come up with the money to start the company. There are 4 people here tonight that raised 95% of the money. Richard Chrisman, Jeff Brock, and Dr. Bennett Leventhal. The reason this worked was because Brian Ritchie is a very effective recruiter. As Frank mentioned, he brought many people from home. The third reason is because I had customers that I met on industry boards that had faith in us. The business grew and took off, ultimately not because of me, but because of our associates. Our associates are truly the engine behind the company. If you've ever worked for Conference Direct, could you please stand? Those of you out there. I've got a few priests here. Father Cavoto, if I get people to stand 2 more times, can we count it as Mass for Sunday? Just so you don't think that I work all the time, I have 80 non-industry friends from across the country that are here. I have my sort of Catholic mafia group. You know who you are. They flew here on a PJ. The fellows in sobriety are back there somewhere. Friends from Palm Springs and Provincetown, and others from all over the country. My 2 nephews are here to see their old uncle get an award. Thank you. In keeping with the theme of generosity, there are so many people here tonight that are extremely generous. They're humbling. Ray Bloom, Stephen Ravitria, the Hilton family, Linda, Joe Popolo, they come to my mind right away. There's actually no one I know personally that's given more here tonight than a man who started a business with a $2,000 loan and grew it to a $1 billion company and sold it to focus on philanthropy. He's given over $600 million to defend LGBT rights. He's humble, and he's my fiance's business partner, Mr. Tim Gill. I'm going to steal one of Tim's little tricks in philanthropy. And Kevin Kirby, Conference Direct, will match all the contributions given tonight to the foundation. Apparently there's a QR code somewhere on this thing with my mug on it. Many of you in the room tonight have spent a long time, a lot of years traveling, and our spouses and significant others and families took the lead in raising the kids, minding the pets, and maintaining our home life. I'd like to express my gratitude to the important people in our lives who have put up with those of us on the road. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge my fiance, Alex Capisalatro, who has a busy career of his own and is co-founder and CEO of Josh AI. We will celebrate 10 years together next spring, and they're getting married in May of 2023. As I look back on my career, you may wonder, what's the lesson here? To me, it's the power of relationships and service. Find your mentors. Stay close to them. Soak up everything you can from them. And then remember to honor them as you succeed in life. As you get to my position, be a mentor to someone else. This is how the industry keeps going. Never underestimate the power of service, not just in our industry, but in the communities around you. This is probably the Catholic part of me, but I believe service is the reason we're on this planet. And in our business, there's never been a better time to rise to that occasion. There are many opportunities at MPI to become a leader. Join a chapter. Find an initiative that you enjoy and care about. Fundraise for scholarships. You know, someday somebody's got to replace Gary Schumacher, right? You have the power to make MPI thrive and keep going. But it's up to you. You are the next generation. As it's written in the Gospel of Luke, to whom much is given, much will be required. I dedicate this award to all of you who volunteer for MPI, past, present, and future. Thank you for being industry leaders. Thank you for being the shoulders that we stand on. Good night and God bless.